Bona tarda a tothom. Avui tenim la presència del doctor Hanna, que és professor de la Universitat de Wisconsin Extension. El doctor Hanna ha sigut rector d'aquesta universitat dels Estats Units i en aquests moments està desenvolupant aquí una estada com a fellowship de l'eLearn Center. Normalment, quan una persona, un professor d'una altra institució universitària ve a fer una estada en el nostre centre, nosaltres ja tenim desenvolupat un protocol en el qual se li assigna un mentor i a partir d'això comencen a treballar plegats i van desenvolupant l'àmbit de treball que s'ha pactat amb aquest professor, que ell té interès en desenvolupar aquí i també el que a nosaltres ens pot interessar col·laborar amb ell. El mentor del professor Hanna és l'Enric Serradell, que ara molt breument també us explicarà bàsicament, diguéssim, en què consisteix aquesta col·laboració. Jo només volia fer una breu introducció des del punt de vista següent, des del punt de vista que aquest és un programa que des del seu començament l'eLearn Center ha impulsat i en el qual ha cregut, perquè és una de les formes, creiem, més adequades per poder intercanviar i alimentar la investigació i la pràctica de la formació en la nostra institució. És a dir, el fet que persones rellevants de l'àmbit de l'e-learning o de l'àmbit de l'ús de les tecnologies en l'educació, ja siguin des de qualsevol de les 3 línies de recerca que es treballen en el centre, com és la de polítiques i gestió i organització de l'e-learning, ja sigui la de processos d'ensenyament i aprenentatge, ja sigui la de tecnologies per l'aprenentatge, el fet que personalitats rellevants comparteixin amb nosaltres un període de temps i treballin conjuntament amb nosaltres fa que enriqueixi en molt la nostra pròpia activitat habitual. Per tant, nosaltres en la mesura del possible apostem per aquest tipus de relacions, per aquest tipus d'estades d'aquests professors aquí, i el que ens agradaria és que cada vegada n'hagués més. De la mateixa manera que d'alguna forma nosaltres també sovint podem anar a altres institucions en aquest sentit. El professor Hanna és la segona persona que està en un període d'aquestes característiques amb nosaltres. N'hi ha hagut algunes altres que o han acabat molt recentment o encara estan en el procés i han de venir també, però en qualsevol cas ens sembla que la feina que ha fet, almenys fins ara, ha sigut molt rellevant i no volem perdre l'oportunitat que ell compartís amb el conjunt d'investigadors del centre, i en aquest cas ho hem també fet extensiu a algunes altres persones d'altres institucions, que poguessin compartir les seves reflexions, el seu plantejament, perquè d'aquesta manera tots sortim guanyant i tots creixent. Jo simplement vull agrair-li al doctor Hanna la seva disponibilitat, la feina que ha fet durant aquest període de temps aquí, la seva disponibilitat per avui ser present i oferir-nos aquest seminari, aquesta xerrada. I would like to thank you, the fact that you are available to give this speech and to share with us the content of the seminar and even all during your stay here. I per tant, diguéssim, posar de manifest que aquesta és una de les activitats i línies de treball de l'eLearn Center en la qual esteu tots convidats a participar, a fruir-hi d'elles, però també a proposar i en tot cas també a suggerir que altres persones es puguin incorporar en moments futurs també en aquesta mateixa línia. Per tant, sense més dilació, passo la paraula a l'Enric Serradell, que farà una mica la glosa del professor Hanna i després, posteriorment, ell iniciará el seminario.
Muy bien, gracias Albert. Bueno, voy a hacer la presentación del doctor Don Hanna en castellano. Me gustaría, primero de todo, ¿verdad?, agradecer tu presencia y tu estancia aquí entre nosotros durante este tiempo. La verdad es que cuando Albert, el Center me comentó la posibilidad de que el doctor Hanna se pueda incorporar a la institución y estar aquí entre nosotros durante un tiempo estudiando cosas, en principio, relacionadas con lo que hacemos y con lo que queremos hacer, pues la verdad es que me llamó mucho la atención que una persona, un académico reconocido, con una experiencia tan amplia en el mundo de la universidad, pues viniera de tan lejos para acá, y porque quería saber algo más de nosotros. Yo, para mí, bueno, lo he comentado con otras personas antes, de Estados Unidos tengo siempre de las personas que vienen de Estados Unidos para acá, tengo una sensación de que son personas con unas ganas impresionantes de hacer cosas nuevas, de hacer cosas diferentes, ganas de aprender y ganas de compartir. El doctor Hanna, la primera impresión que me dio fue que en realidad él debería ser mentor mío y no yo su mentor. Y por lo tanto empezamos por aquí, ¿no? Porque yo la verdad yo creo que he aprendido mucho de todos estos días que hemos hablado, de los diálogos que hemos mantenido y de las ideas que tenemos del futuro, ¿no? Yo creo que tal vez lo que más me apasiona es realmente lo que nos queda por hacer, incluso más de lo que hemos hecho hasta ahora. Yo creo, primero de todo, intentamos ponernos de acuerdo sobre el qué trabajar. Sobre el qué trabajar se basaba sobre todo en la experiencia, gran experiencia del doctor Hanna en el mundo universitario como rector de su universidad, y también de qué trabajar, pues evidentemente en temas de lo que hacemos aquí en la Universitat Oberta de Cataluña y de lo que creemos que hacemos bien, que es hacer eLearning. En base a esto nos planteamos cuáles serían los conceptos clave, las aproximaciones para poder hacer algo común que fuera útil para todos. Y bueno, aquí de alguna manera el don, pues tal vez en el título de la presentación que nos hará hoy ha puesto cosas que son muy significativas. Desde la palabra learning, la palabra cultura, estrategias y excelencia. Me faltaría innovación, a lo mejor, pero son ideas que han ido saliendo alrededor de lo que queremos hacer. ¿Qué queremos hacer? Queremos primero investigar el por qué se producen determinados procesos y se producen de forma excelente. Y a veces uno, cuando está en una universidad como la nuestra, en la UOC, trabajamos mucho, como tal vez se trabaja mucho en Estados Unidos, es learning by doing. Hacemos cosas y estas cosas podemos ir cambiando sobre la marcha, nos adaptamos sobre la marcha, pero en general yo creo que vamos en una buena línea de decir, bueno, estamos haciendo algo que es importante, no solo ya desde el punto de vista de pioneros, de lanzar una manera de aprender diferente, usando unas tecnologías, sino que también, de alguna forma, sobre la marcha hemos aprendido a consolidarnos y a ir madurando, ¿no?, sobre lo que hemos hecho y reflexionando sobre lo que hemos hecho bien y mal. Para no alargarme demasiado, las ideas que queremos estudiar, que hemos trabajado hasta ahora, están relacionadas justamente con lo que podría ser establecer unas maneras de trabajar en cómo se organizan las instituciones para hacer un aprendizaje más eficaz, para llegar mejor, más y mejor a las personas en aquello que queremos ofrecer y que se adapte a lo que ellos desean también recibir. Por lo tanto, hay una adaptación también a lo que es el mundo ahora, a las necesidades para el mundo profesional y no profesional, las necesidades en general de la educación. Y entonces aparece pues el tema de la organización de las instituciones, aparece el tema de cómo promover una cultura en el que se sienta todo el mundo representado, tanto desde el punto de vista de los que trabajamos en una institución como desde el punto de vista de los que se acercan a ella porque quieren obtener un resultado. Y cuáles son las estrategias más apropiadas para hacer eso. La verdad es que queda como un conjunto de intenciones en el que hay como dos niveles. Uno, por lo tanto, sería a nivel institucional, cómo la institución se organiza, cómo promueve una cultura, cómo nos acercamos y reflexionamos en base a estrategia para alcanzar aquello que queremos alcanzar. Y por otro lado, un nivel, si queremos un poquito más de detalle, sobre cómo esa nueva cultura, sobre cómo el concepto de innovación, sobre cómo el concepto de excelencia, como el concepto de calidad, se puede incorporar en los procesos de aprendizaje, usando como usamos pues, las tecnologías de una forma pues, prioritaria y sin olvidar los aspectos tan, claro, pedagógicos. En este sentido, yo pienso que las dos instituciones, bueno, personificando la Universidad de Wisconsin y la UOC, y en este caso el eLearn Center, pues nos complementamos. La idea de todo esto se intentaremos plasmar, y somos una universidad, y no podemos olvidar que somos una universidad, en unos resultados de investigación que esperamos obtener pues, a medio plazo, de alguna manera, como podría ser pues alguna publicación en forma de capítulos de libro, o como optamos también por el tema de publicación en las revistas de nuestro ámbito, ¿no? En base a eso estamos trabajando Normalmente, digamos, cada uno intentará enfocar el resultado conforme también a sus expectativas. Yo sé que Don, pues de alguna manera quiere aprovechar esta experiencia para también incorporar este conocimiento de la UOC, del eLearn Center, en su propia institución, y nosotros nos gustaría también aprovechar su experiencia para incorporarlo a la nuestra. Sintéticamente, eso sería lo que yo pienso que es nuestra relación ahora y en el futuro. No sé si Albert o Don quieren decir algo, pero bueno, esa sería nuestra estrategia.
Pues muy bien, muchas gracias. Yo no tengo nada más que añadir porque ya he hablado suficientemente. Creo que Enrique ha expresado muy bien el planteamiento, el motivo por el cual este programa de fellowship funciona y el motivo por el cual Don Hanna está hoy aquí. Así que sin más introducciones, por yours, Mr.
Okay, podemos hablar en inglés. Si no, es un muy corto presentación. True. So, I'm really happy to have a chance. I hope it's a small group, so theoretically we can have it be more of a conversation and a discussion. I don't have to say everything I intend to say for it to be a better session if we're all participating. So I hope that will be the case. And you can stop me, you can ask questions, you can do whatever you want to do to make it more interesting for yourselves. Don't let me just continue to talk if you have something that you want to say. Okay? Yeah, good. Okay, well, Enrique, I think, said quite a bit about my interests and background, so I am not going to spend much time talking about that. I think pretty much that's something that all of you know in terms of my interest in leadership and change and quality and teaching and learning. And all of those things go into an organization of higher education, no matter what kind, whether it's a face-to-face, on-the-ground institution or one that is operating at a distance using technologies. They all are important, and that's pretty much my interest is bringing them together. Let's see if I can get this to work for my, there it is. There it is. Okay. Yeah, it's a Mac. Okay, so that I won't. But I do want to say a little bit about what I've been doing here, just to give you a sense. And it has gone really fast. I'm just amazed. Obviously, one of the things that we're hoping will come out of this, or we're not hoping, we're planning to come out of this, is some publication. And I'm working right now on a chapter on organizational models, and I hope to incorporate what I've learned here at Walk into that chapter. I'm also working on a chapter on organizing learning and what we can do to do a better job of that. And that's coming along fairly well. I've had a few detours, side trips along the way. We've been working on a proposal with Chris and Alba and Albert to look at quality and to develop a framework that matches what has been happening in Europe with what has been happening in the U.S. And that's a funding proposal that goes forward in the next month or so. So we've been working pretty intensively on that. And then the last thing is looking at Walk as a case study for comparison, trying to incorporate my fresh eyes into some understanding of what this place is and what it does and how it does it, and you know what we can learn from that. Again, using fresh eyes. So that's it's pretty much. I don't know. Did I miss anything? I think that's it. Again, I want to thank all of you. I want to thank particularly Albert and Enrique, and I have something for you. And it's not very well wrapped. I think Albert can unwrap it. But I hope it'll remind you of Wisconsin a little bit. And while he's doing that, I'm going to go on and pass it around.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. This is Aldo Leopold. He is he was a very famous conservationist, a person who cared about where the land was in relation to the spirit and connecting the two. And he grew up and lived in a very small little cabin on the river just north of Madison, Wisconsin. And when you have a chance, you'll be able to see some of what his perspectives are, and very, very important. Okay, so we're going to talk about a few things today. I'm going to go really quickly. I'm going to stop and ask you for some comments here, but I just thought it might be interesting. This is the University of Wisconsin, and you can see it's right on the lake, and it's a beautiful place, especially in June. And here's what it's like. Well, it's not quite like that now, but this is the same place. This is the lake, and it's a big celebration. I sail right here most of the time. That's just where I sail. All of you know that I like to sail. So, okay, well, where are we going? I think this is a great description of the state of affairs in universities today. And I think it's true with this university. It's certainly true with the universities that I'm familiar with. There is a real confusion about where we're going, how we're going to get there, and what the path should be. So this pretty much sums that up. And here are some quotes. I just let you take a look at these very quickly, and I'm not gonna say anything about any of them, but I do want to focus on the second one. Good teachers possess a capacity for connectedness. To teach is to create a safe space, and that safe space can be here in a seminar where everybody feels comfortable in bringing out ideas. It can be in your session this morning where you talked about the future and what each of you were hoping to contribute to the progress of the center. It can be in an online classroom, but it has to feel safe for people to be motivated to learn. And I want to talk a little bit about that a little bit later. And I think another one is pretty good. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. It's a movie. It's a stupid movie, but he does say if you don't stop and look around once in a while, you can miss life. So I know next week's the time for everybody to stop and look around and don't miss life. It's too precious. Okay. All right. Well, weather. As a sailor, I'm constantly looking at the weather. I'm trying to figure out when it's going to be a good time to sail, when it's not, what kind of conditions we're going to face, how we can best adjust to those conditions, and change our plans according to the changes that are presented to us. And that's really what we have to do within universities as well. We have to look. And that's one of the things that I really value about WALK is there's a lot of engagement with the rest of the world, and in a variety of ways. And many of you have traveled to other places, and you certainly are studying what other organizations are doing in Europe and across the globe. And I think that's tremendous, and we need to do a lot of that. So I just want to get your ideas about the weather for universities. What are the three things in your mind that really are the biggest challenges? And I'll leave it for you to say whether those challenges are for WALK specifically, or for the eLearn Center, or for universities in general. And I'm going to stop here. While you're thinking about that, I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to write a few of them down. Oops. I'm going to try to do that. Hang on. There we go. Okay. We'll go back one more. Okay, there we go. All right. Had an opportunity to think about that. What would one challenge be? Anyone?
Reduction of funding.
Okay. Happening here, it's happening all over, it's not all over the world, but it's happening certainly in Europe and in the US and North America and South America. Reductions in funding. What's another one? Okay?
Teacher training.
What's another one?
To be competitive internationally, how it can.
To be competitive internationally? Okay. What else?
Political decisions in terms of education.
To transfer into practice the results of research.
There are a number of things that how we can explicit that it's everything related to higher needs is currently the mission of the university. So what is expected about the university to be. Talking about weather, we can say that it's, currently weather is turbulent, and we don't have any forecast about it in the future. So
Okay. Inability to predict
yeah.
the next steps or the future. Let me give you an example of that. In the U.S., we have right now 38% of people of working age from 25 to 64 have a baccalaureate degree. That's not the highest, but it's not the lowest either among industrial countries, for sure. But there are projections that in 10 years, certainly 15 years, the jobs that are going to be created are going to demand somebody, 62% of the jobs that are going to be created, this is a projection, could be wrong, but there's a greater demand for people with baccalaureate degrees. They're going to have a baccalaureate degree to maintain a viable, productive job. So the demand, we're pretty sure, is going to go up, but as Albert mentioned, the resources, the amount of money that society is actually devoting or offering is going to go down. So we've got this going on. Demand up, resources down. How are we going to do that? What's the way in which that's going to happen? And I think it's all factored into this list of items. So I agree with this, and it's going to be a very, very difficult period of time as we go forward in terms of funding, in terms of environment. So how are we going to do that? What's the strategy? What are we going to focus on? Now I have some ideas about that, and I'm going to share those ideas, but I'd also like to get your questions. I mean, if there's something you want me, or if there's a topic related to the interests I've described, let's write them down so that we're sure to talk about them. So does anybody have a question? I won't address it right now, but I want to get it on the table. Anything that you're thinking about, given the kind of discussion we're going to have, that you just, it's the reason you came, and you don't want to go away without having talked about it?
I've got a concern about that, so it's not just a question for you, maybe it's something to think on it and to reflect on it, but given that, what you mentioned, so the increasing of the demand for coming to the university more students and the decreasing of funding sources for that, may it result in a move of learning out of the university?
Okay.
Mhm.
I think that's an absolutely beautiful question. And
Great.
learning and teaching
Yes, of course.
out of universities. Might we have other organizations
Yeah.
that begin to assume that role, or other types of universities, or
Or it may result in the change of the core mission of the university. So the danger I'm looking at, I'm perceiving, is the fact that universities can become just certificators of something and not the place in which people can learn. Okay? So they can accredit or they can certify, but they are not involved in the process of learning. So this can be possible. The thing is how we can avoid that.
And that, it's interesting, that's a question that I think face-to-face universities asked a number of years ago, as demand was increasing and as they wanted to continue to be what they were, and they didn't really respond. And as a result, I think there's a whole array of institutions that exist today that might not have existed in the same way if they had responded. And I think that's true now for online universities, is that we really have to think about this, because it could change. So I just want to show some images here. I just want to show you some images. I'll kind of sort through these very quickly, but I think you'll get an idea of how rapidly, the time is changing. This is all stuff that 10, 15 years ago didn't exist. And now we're trying to figure out what to do with TED and Wikimedia and Creative Commons and Quality Matters and the Public Library of Science, Al Jazeera, Creative Commons, news sources, all of this. iTunes University, are all of you familiar with iTunes University?
Yeah.
Is WALK? I didn't look. Are you publishing on iTunes?
See, there are some things that it has been published, I think like a year ago or something like this. At least I heard that, and I didn't check it, but it was about to be
It's
published.
phenomenal what is happening with respect to availability of educational materials and in different languages. If you think about Wikipedia and you think about what is available now in multiple languages and how quickly it has developed, it's just phenomenal. And so this is the environment that we're living within, trying to get some degree of stability from. Blog U, and to go back to here's somebody that if you don't know, Kurt Bach, he has written a lot about the world is open, about empowering online communities, blended learning, a lot of other things, and he's somebody to keep an eye on, just to follow his perspectives about what's happening. Here we get to Albert's question: will universities continue to do what they do, or will other forms of organization take its place? And peer-to-peer university, Second Life, Straighter Line. Straighter Line is a way of helping learners get to a degree faster. And here are some other ones that are Kurzweil, Ray Kurzweil, Singularity University, Khan Academy. Khan Academy started when this young person who graduated from Harvard. How many of you are familiar with Khan Academy? No. Okay. This guy started Khan Academy because his niece wanted to learn algebra and was having difficulty doing that. And she was visiting, and so she and he worked together, and he put on a tablet 10-minute lessons, because on YouTube you can only upload 10 minutes of video, right? Unless you're a provider. But if you're just, you know, the average person, 10 minutes. So he would write 10 minutes of lessons about algebra for her at a distance. And then they would talk about it using Skype or the computer to talk with each other. There are now over 3,000 of these, and there are users from all over the world, and that's all happened in 2 or 3 years. And he quit his job on Wall Street. He was a venture analyst, an analista, and is doing this full time now for no pay. Here's more. Do It Yourself University. This one over here. It's a book. Do It Yourself University, and what she says is that basically school is and universities are too expensive, and in the U.S. people are borrowing more and more money to go to school, and eventually they're going into a large amount of debt. And her argument is that I can learn without going to a university most of what I need to know. Now, I know, and you know, that that's not the case from a motivational standpoint. But the fact is, there's more and more available, and I think there are going to be organizations that help people to put the knowledge that's out there together in ways different than what WALK does, certainly in ways different than what the University of Wisconsin does in terms of bringing people in face to face. And so your idea, Albert, about certification, I think, is definitely coming down the road. There's a lot of criticism right now of the organization of universities, and a lot of struggle with the mission. Are we going to be research focused, or are we going to grow enrollment in order to make more money and be able to sustain ourselves? That's a major question. So I love this one, The Accidental Billionaires. This is founder of Facebook. And the other book is They Just Wanted to Meet Some Girls. He's now worth $85 billion and left the university. But with people thinking about that, you know, you can imagine he's going to have a lot of money. If he wanted to start a university that would be completely different, there would be no obstacle to doing that. And I think that's one of the things that we have to think about down the road. We already have some examples in the U.S. The University of Phoenix has about 300,000 students and growing rapidly. It's for-profit, and it makes a profit. And it is designed to continue to grow. And they do not do research. All they do is certification. Capella, this is another university. Strayer, here's their growth pattern. These are all competitors. So, weather, definitely some of the things that you folks have, that all of you have mentioned. I'm not going to spend any more time about it, but I am going to repeat that this is the challenge that we see in the U.S. The 25 to 64-year-old, 4-year degree, and the need to to increase the number of spaces. So I'm going to go to another point here. I want to come back and I think, who was it? Was it Alfred? Was it oh no, it was Marcelo, in terms of the changes that are taking place in the universities. When you look at pre-Gutenberg and you look at some purposes of universities, knowledge creation, knowledge storage, sharing and exchange, application and certification, you know, not much was happening for quite a while. But when you look at what's happening now, from 2000 on with Web 2.0, it's a completely different environment. It's dynamic. What our library is going to be, we're not sure. What does it mean to be able to share information broadly and across the globe very quickly? And going down to the bottom, what's certification going to look like? Is it going to continue to be structured in disciplines and organized linearly, or is it going to be possible for people to have their certifications created by what they know in a more of a testing environment? I think that's very, very, very possible. Yeah, Federico?
Can we have access to this after the seminar?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
It feels a little warm in here to me. I'm sorry. I'm starting.
Obriu una mica la porta.
Can we open up? I'm warm. I know.
It will be a little bit more, probably fresh, but
No, but can we just stop here for a second?
Sure, yeah.
Because I can see that this is a great overview. I quite like it, and I would like to just point out to the fact that for all history except for the final column, before the printing and with the existence of technology, universities have had an importance that probably they might not have as from now in the future, because in all three columns on the left,
Correct.
Knowledge was linear, knowledge was preserved and produced on certain places, while in this century, knowledge is not linear anymore, and knowledge is produced and used in different ways as it was before. So, yes, I agree with all of you, universities, higher education is in danger as we know it. Just that.
Yeah. And this right-hand column, I put it in red for a reason. We don't know we really don't know what's going to unfold, and there are now, theories about learning that say there's no way we can learn everything that we need to know. The lifelong, life-wide, and life-deep learning, as we need to access knowledge, means that we're not going to get it out of organizations all the time. We have to know how to learn, we have to know how to connect knowledge and how to bring it together. So this is a very big change, and it's happened very quickly. You can see pre-Gutenberg for 2,000 years, nothing changed. And then something changed radically. And now with technology, it changed, but we didn't really change. But now it is really a changed, I think, a major change coming. So what's that done with universities? This is a chart that has to do with orientation to change, leadership, values, decision-making, support structures, key messages. And I think WALK is a great example of how a university can adapt to a different environment. And I think without visionary leadership, walk would not have gotten started, and it would not have developed the way that it did. Clearly, there was a vision here, and a visionary person and people that made it happen, and that created the opportunity to build something that was very definitely new. In terms of values, I think a very big shift occurred with WALK, and not just WALK, other organizations, but I don't think that it has happened within higher education in general. And I don't think that we right now have a vision for where the university ought to go generally. And that may be true for WALK as well as it matures. Can the university take the next steps that it needs to take in order to adapt to all those changes that we just talked about? Decision making, it used to be pretty much top down. People told us what to do, but I don't think that's what happens now in organizations. I don't think that's what happens here. You're pretty much charged with determining your own future. Am I right about that? Within some guide, no.
Probably compared with old institutions or old times, probably yes. I'm not pretty sure if this is the full capacity of make a decision here, but anyway, yes.
Except for funding, probably you're right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in terms of struggles, all universities have the struggle to move from kind of the bureaucratic and political model to one that is informal and horizontal. And I think that's probably true here as well. And I think Spain, you know, just by virtue of its organization, is more vertical than my experience has been in the United States. But it's a struggle for every university. How would you describe the situation with budgets? You've all talked about budgets as a problem. Tightly controlled here. Stable or not?
Not stable now.
What about opportunities? Would you consider WALK as an opportunity-seeking organization in general?
I think so, but not related to budget.
Okay.
So the problem is that if we are seeking for opportunities and we don't have any kind of budget to support the launch of these opportunities, then there is a problem. So if we look at the opportunity as a possible source of new incomes, that's right, but the problem is that you usually need to invest at the beginning if you want to take advantage of an opportunity. So this is the problem. We have no money in order to invest for the opportunities, and then we cannot grow them up without any kind of source for doing that. So this is a problem related even with system and resources, because to evolve as needed, it also needs a budget in order to do that. If budget is not available, then we have a double problem. So, I mean, it's not because of the institution doesn't want to. It's because the situation, maybe the external situation, doesn't allow to do it.
And what about reserve funds or investment funds? Has the university not been able to create that?
It would probably depend on the kind of legal of the legal form of the institution. So if you are a non-profit foundation, it is not easy to invest and to have some reserves for investment in this sense. So you cannot have
No, thank you.
you cannot have a
Thank you.
economic benefits.
I do, I'm sorry.
You cannot have benefits from an economic point of view. So it's difficult to have some money in order to invest. So everything can then be balanced for that. So I agree with the development of that, but sometimes some particular institutions can have some troubles on having this evolution in a fluent way, in a smooth way.
Just one more screen here. What do you think about exploiting competitive advantage? How do you are you actively competing, and who are your competitors? Who are the competitors?
Everyone.
Who are?
Everyone. I would say everyone. And I think that I'm happy to see that, because I think it's one of the few things we might be doing well. I don't know if you agree with me, but it's one of the things I think we're doing well, because we were ahead of the other universities in the past in some respects, and now we're certainly aiming at being ahead of them as they are doing what we were doing in the past.
But I'm not sure if I agree, if I fully agree with the fact that everyone is our competitor. I don't exactly think so. Maybe we perceive that, but at the end, the target of other institutions are not the same as ours. If the target is not the same, there is no competition on that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's maybe collaboration or simply, ¿cómo es diu? Obviar en anglès, ara no em surt. Avoiding. Yeah. So, but the fact is that even when traditional face-to-face universities try to handle with online programs, they are not fully online because they don't believe on that. So, and at the end, the students have not the same profile. So at the end, we are not competing for the same kind of students normally. I mean, usually, maybe in some particular moment, but not in general. So different programs in general. But anyway, there are a lot of competitors, but that's true.
How many people think WAC's enrollment is going to be over 100,000 in the year 2020?
2020
Over 100,000. How many people here think that?
What do you mean by enrollment?
Okay, good point. Let me ask this, the 55,000 that you have now, is that head count?
Yes, so there are
That's
physical
individual
students.
persons?
Yeah.
Okay.
So because I mean in America, enrollment is several one student have several enrollments.
Yeah, no.
It's not that.
No.
So you mean 100,000 students?
100,000 students. How many people here think yes?
I'd say yes if we consider the students enrolled in a different kind of courses we are offering now.
Say some more. Like what?
Yeah.
Like,
Non-credit?
not exactly that, but
No?
maybe, but I'm thinking on short courses
Okay.
and probably more economic ones than now.
Okay. And for a degree? Are you going to offer a degree?
Yes, but it will depend on the progression of these courses in order to get the final degree.
So how about, how many degrees does WAC award each year? Academic degrees now at the undergraduate level, how many degrees? Now,
You mean how many degrees do we offer?
How many, no, not
Or
you
how we-
offer, how many students, how many students graduate?
Yeah.
Anualment, que són uns 2.000 i pico? Maybe 2,000 and something.
2,000
Yeah,
As,
more or
as,
less.
as an average.
Yeah.
I mean,
undergraduate and graduate, or just undergraduate?
Under.
Okay. How many people, how many of you think that it's going to be 4,000 in 2020?
Mojaros. Get wet, please.
Okay. So half, no? Anybody for no? More than 4,000? Well, I'm right in the, I cut the middle, didn't I?
50-50.
We are too focused on the present, maybe.
I'm a little bit tricky by answering that because I just count on the mathematics of that. So the thing is that if currently a degree, I mean a graduate people is because they finished a degree.
Right.
If a degree is 4 years now, and that it means in our case, our part-time students, most of them are part-time students, will take at least between 6 and 8 years to complete the degree. I don't think the current number of students can complete a degree in 8 years, in 9 years. 40,000 students will complete that. So I don't think we can get these numbers.
Okay.
Probably Albert is right, but I'm going to say something here. In 2020, chances are that our university is more focused on the learner,
Yeah.
and they have better ways, more support, right? And considering that they will have a big increase in enrollment, I don't think 100,000, but there will be an increase in enrollment. I think that might be the reason for some of us saying yes.
Okay.
Just wanted to say that for the record.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but this is a problem about wildlife learning.
Yes.
How many hours in a day you have to study?
Right.
So this is something that you can limit quite well, which is the scope of that. So well, it can be obviously new developments and in which we can do things in a different way, but I think that 8 years is not a lot of time to change in this way, because we're turning down everything in the sense. So 8 years maybe it's not.
Okay, well, we have to make an agreement that in 2020,
Yeah.
we're going to come back and we'll sit around the table and everybody will remember, oh, this is what I said. And we have it on tape, right? We didn't get all your votes, but you'll have to remember.
Will we double the professors, for example?
What's
At the
that?
same time, because if you ask,
Say it again?
if we will double the number of professors also.
Okay. All right, well,
Because
let's,
maybe they will want, as a institution, to have the double of students, but maybe the same number of professors or less.
well, let's ask that.
This is not the trend.
Let's ask that. How many of you think that we're going to have 50% more professors in 2020 than we do now?
50% more.
50% more.
No.
Okay. And that is the fundamental challenge, because we are going to have, I think everybody agreed, maybe not, but I think everybody agreed we're going to have more students, right? Maybe not double, but more students. And we're going to, anybody think we're going to have more professors at law?
More
professors.
in general.
50% more. 50% more.
No.
Perhaps another kinds of organization in terms of professors, no? Perhaps we will share professors with another universities. I think in other kinds of organizations, I don't know, but not so many increase of professors.
But this is one of my main concerns. So developing things as it seems to be at this moment. And you have mentioned a very good sentence that you said, research for future universities research focus or growing enrollment. It means that there will be two different kind of universities, okay? But there won't be more funding for research. This is the question. And on the other hand, if you are grow the enrollments, the thing is that we are pushing very strongly the idea of the open learning development. So you can learn anywhere, and later on you can come to the university to be accredited. And it means that you won't need more professors to do that, because people will learn out of the university.
By their own.
Okay, by their own, because everything is easy. To learn is easy, absolutely easy. So universities don't need more professors. They need systems to accredit learning.
Yeah.
If we do so, the problem will be that we will have an increasing number of students and a decreasing number of professors. And the business will be moved to other parts of the society. You agree?
I'm wondering, do you think, and I'll ask this for everybody, but do you think that WALK will award degrees in 2020 without students going through the structured learning process that you offer now? Currently, all students enroll, they take courses, they experience your educational model, which is really, really well done. It's very organized, it's very structured. It has a framework, everybody knows what it is, and I'm going to talk about this in a minute, but do you think that there will be a role for WALK outside of this framework for awarding a degree? How many people think yes?
I don't like it, but I think yes.
I think it's,
No.
it's more a business model.
Yes, I don't agree with, but I think it will be.
Yeah.
It's not a learning feature, it's a business model.
Well, I think what Albert said, it's very interesting, because I was thinking about that when we were talking about the reducing of the budget and how to face that challenge. I was thinking that maybe universities in the future they will teach elementary issues, things more theoretically, and then together working with companies, students will be learning other abilities, other skills, and this learning process will be in two ways. In a university, learning theoretically the basic concepts, and a little bit more, of course. And then other skills will be learned in companies, working, really learning by doing. A combination of university and company would be a way to face this challenge of the reduction of budget and reduction. You won't need so many teachers, so many professors, and I mean this could be somehow a way to find a solution. Or
following on this, because most of the assessment will not be coming from the university, but as you said, it will be a competence or competency assessment that will be done by the companies, the firms, the society, mostly.
Or maybe people here.
Yeah.
There's not a structure for it right now, but
A structure within the university.
within the university, it could possibly be. It's very interesting in the U.S. That this idea has come about. There is a university called Western Governors University. Are you familiar with it? It's the only one in the United States, and it is they offer not one course themselves, but they provide the guidance and the counseling for students who enroll, and the students pay them for that guidance and counseling, and then they are directed toward, here's what you need to know in subject A, here's what you need to know in subject B, Here's what you need to know in subject C. And here are a variety of paths for you to learn that, some of which are self-study and you're learning on the web. You go out, you organize your own learning patterns, some of which people may already know by virtue of their experience, some of which they may actually go to another university to enroll in a course. They may come to walk if that was a decision that made sense for them. But in the end, Western Governors University creates the knowledge base that people need to know, and they frame what it means to get their degree. And it's very, very much out in the open. Here's what you need to know. Here's how we're going to evaluate whether you know it or not. And here's the degree that you're going to get. And I think that it's not for everybody, but there are some people for whom that's going to work. And with the demand growing, there's going to be a role for that more and more. And it doesn't mean that people go completely outside of an organized educational environment. They can stay, they can continue to study, but it's another avenue for them to pursue to get a degree. So I think it would be a major question for an organization like WALK, are we ever going to do that?
So, but this model, it consists in present evidences of your prior learning, you recognize them, and then you say to the people interested if you have to do another course in order to complete a degree, and then I certify this, or is this the model of the Western governors?
It lays out exactly what people need to know, either through tests or through portfolios,
Yeah.
a lot of use of portfolios, and putting together a package of demonstrating what they have done, what they know, what they have done, whether they have passed a particular test or something like that. And then the combined effect of that is the judgment about whether or not somebody gets a degree. And it's not that much different really than, if you think about traditional higher education, it's take this course, take this course, take this course, take this course until you have enough credits to get a degree. And that's the decision that's made. But it's giving a degree a different way and based on experience. So, anybody think WALK, I'm going to ask it again, anybody think WALK's going to be in this business?
Who's being?
It probably would be, because as you mentioned before, we are probably more market driven. And this is one of the questions that I'm a little bit skeptic about, on the sense that I'm not very sure if to work in a company means that you are learning something.
Correct.
Well, I mean, you probably learn to do this thing, to do something. The companies are not very interested in your learning. They are interested in if you are doing what you need to do for this particular company. So your development is not a different business, okay? So you need to be free about your learning development and professional development. If your professional development depends also on the company in which you are, the limitation of freedom is very clear at this time. So universities are giving the opportunity to people to be much more free on the sense of deciding about which is the learning path they would like to do. Another different thing is if we should change the core and the matter of the educational opportunity of the universities. I agree on that. In which I don't agree is in the fact of putting in the same basket the idea of what are we offering to the potential students and how to learn. So it's not the same thing.
Right.
And for me, this is the most important concern about. So the thing is about how we learn and how do we learn better and more effectively. this is one of the a part of the discussion. The other part of the discussion is if we should go on offering the same kind of studies or the same kind of courses or the same kind of structure of the courses. I agree on breaking down this and doing things in a different way, but at the end we are talking about learning, not only about degrees. So this is the discussion in which I think that sometimes we're coming from the market is a little bit tricky discussion. So
It's very, very tricky, and it's very difficult to give up, and nor should we, give up something that we know is working. We know that there's a product here, and a lot of thought has gone into creating this, and it has been demonstrated to be successful in a variety of ways. You do a lot of study about whether or not your learners are getting what they need. And so there's a lot of success built into this, and nobody, I think, would ever suggest that it has to be, swept out the door and something else completely replacing it. But the question is, I think, with changes in learners, one of the things that we know is that it's no longer content that matters.
Right.
Content does matter. People need to know things. I wish I spoke better Spanish, and I'm really working hard to do that. So content does matter. It's important, but it's also, knowing what and where to learn what you need to learn, and where to access that, and how to apply it, how to make it work in a variety of settings. Increasingly working with people. And working with people across distances as well. So I think our need to learn and the way in which we learn is changing very, very much. And so we need to think about how to create patterns for people to learn how to learn, as well as to learn what to learn. And I see the model in place now being more the content and less the process.
Yes.
Than it may need to be in the future.
This is the confusion now. The
Yep.
availability of vast amount of content online, if you want to call it that, knowledge, but knowledge of content. But that doesn't mean that you learn with that specific, or just without the help of good guidance. How do we actually learn? Because we can be five ignorants consulting the same content and discussing about it, and not having the basic structures to understand what we are talking about, exactly how it applies in a specific context. So this is the confusion. It's only knowledge what is there, or only content what is there.
Right.
And thinking about companies, the risk is that I think they don't go to that metacognitive objective of teaching at the university. There are more. There's a whole line of performance improvement studies that how people learn to perform better in more procedural knowledge. Well, this can be covered by companies because they are interested in that. They want the people to be productive in their context, in specific tasks. But the university have another mission, like even responsibility with society.
Mm-hmm. Yes, of course. Companies, we all know that they are looking for profits. But what I'm saying is that, come on, not put the companies out, because many people is learning a lot through working in companies. And let me give you a close example. My sister, she's working for Telefonica. She learned a lot about project manager, but she didn't even have a degree. Maybe she could have half of the economic science degree by now, after 4 years of working and developing a lot of work. I mean,
and
of
especially
course,
if she was assisted in doing that.
Yeah.
If there were a process.
There was a process of learning because she was assisted, and well, she's got quite initiative in learning things she learns very fast, and I'm sure there are a lot of examples of this kind of people. So what I'm saying is that this kind of relation between universities and companies could be, of course, tutorized by universities. and somehow try to see how to structure this.
Yeah, and you know, this third line here, from tell me what to do and how to do it, that's where we were in work environments up until 50 years ago. You go to work, somebody tells you what to do, you do it, you go home. That's no longer the case, and it's really, how do I do it, how do I share with others, how do I work with other people to be able to accomplish something? And that's a very different set of skills, very different set of processes. And I think that those changes in demand, this is what people want, is going to change how we organize universities. And I just go back to looking at the learning of children. When you look at how children learn and how efficient that learning is all the time, I mean, they're always giving opportunities to ask questions, seek out new information, look for opportunities to interact. That's what motivated learners do. And make lots of mistakes, be corrected, and use the mistakes to learn. So if we try to create those kinds of environments within schools, it's likely that the learning that we're going to create is problem-centered, it's going to be social and interactive, it's going to be collaborative, and it's going to occur lifelong, life-wide, life-deep, to quote the research that I know you have a project built around. And so, you know, to go back to Alfred's comment, people learn when they're motivated. Children learn because they're motivated. And your sister probably is highly motivated to be recognized for the learning that she's motivated to do within her company. So we're going to have more and more people. And the thing is, people start with a company, they don't stay with a company. So they need to have evidence of what it is they are learning as they're going along. And portfolios, for example, does WALK use portfolios extensively within your course?
Extensively, no.
No.
Some programs are using them
Just in 2 degrees now, and was one pilot with a master's degree. Maybe next semester in 2 more masters, but so.
So we are not very dynamic in that sense.
Yeah, and I think that's something that people are going to want more and more and more. So universities that are organizing around portfolios and beginning to build that into their curriculum are going to have, I think, 5 years from now or 10 years from now, a very different way of incorporating learners, so that you could have the structured model that you have now, but you could also be much more creative in terms of saying, well, over here we have this option for people who have a lot of experience and want to create a portfolio, and we can help you document that portfolio, which is, you know, may or may not be part of a degree. But I think, you know, when you look at, oops, come back to this. My view is on this left side, appropriate tasks, ongoing assessment, interactive strategies, knowledge building community, teacher as co-learner and coach. These are strengths that you have currently in my, you know, understanding of the model and my experiences in talking with people. These things are really incredibly powerful. Oops. On the right side, the learner is explore and discover diverse groupings, opportunities for social learning, interaction, collaborative inquiry. I'm not quite as sure, you know, where you are right now with that. And I think this right side is the challenge for universities in general. It's certainly a challenge for face-to-face universities. We're doing a terrible job in these areas with exceptions. Every department has something going on that's really good. But as a strategy, as a vehicle for here's where we want to be, here's our model in a traditional university, these areas are still, I think, not quite there. Okay. So just, here again, and I think again, the structure here is very good, and the way of serving students at a distance and incorporating the tutor and the consultor and all of that is very good. It's an emotional interaction. It's not a mechanical one. And Hertzberg, are you familiar? Hertzberg has a theory of motivation. It's called hygiene factor theory. And what it says is, if everything goes perfectly, there are many things in an organization that if they're done absolutely perfectly, they don't motivate a student to learn, they don't motivate a teacher to teach, they don't motivate a person to engage in meaningful behavior. But if they are done poorly, they will drive the student away, they will drive the faculty member away, and they will be demotivators for success. So if they're done perfectly, nobody ever notices it. Oh, well, that's just the way that happens. It's done, and I expect it to be done. But if they're done poorly, student services is a great example. The availability of the tutor is another example. If the person is available, perfect. If the person's not available, you can't reach them, can't call them, it's a disaster. And all of those little things, especially in an organization that is as structured and as detailed as WALK is, those little things, learner services, have to be done really, really well in order to be successful. So, well, just some things. I'm curious, if you get out your grade report, for how well we think we're doing, it's really interesting to me. How well are we doing that? How well are we educating leaders about the changing needs of learners? Do the politicians understand this? Do administrators understand this? Do we even understand it? How well? A, B, C, D, F. You can answer it to yourself, and you don't have to share it.
Okay.
Just think about it. A, B, C, D, or F. Now I'm just going to list these real quickly, and then we'll stop and we'll close it. We'll close off the presentation and open it up for conversation. So this is very quick. Do you develop rewards for the scholarship of teaching across the university? Actually, I think this is something you have people involved from across the university thinking about different things. I saw a lot of examples of that, and I've talked with quite a few people who've been involved in that. But how well do you do that? Is it something that the university really focuses on? The scholarship of teaching, the scholarship of helping teachers to be better, what Chris mentioned right at the beginning. How well do we do professional development? And particularly learning about teaching. Building opportunities for teachers and learners to collaborate, or is it a one-way exchange? Are there opportunities for students to become teachers with each other? Is that part of the model or not? A, B, C, D, or F. Support development of citizen, professional, and personal learning in social situations. Again, that life-wide idea. How do you do that? Is it something that you think about doing? A, B, C, D, or F. Encourage teachers to provide, who provide opportunities for learners to teach in low-risk situations. Remember Parker Palmer creating a safe space for learning, but also a space where learners can become the person with the knowledge and share that knowledge and be organized to do that. I know you've got lots of opportunities for individual projects and courses, but do they get to share that with other people? Portfolios are a way to do that, by the way. You can have a public part of the portfolio as well as a private part of the portfolio. Focus on the collaborative nature of the culture, you know, building reward for taking initiative and for making something happen. Is that part of the culture? Maybe it is, maybe it's not, but it's something that organizations need to think about. The ethics of a situation, A, B, C, D, or F. No E's. Okay, partnerships and alliances. This is something I see WALK doing a lot of, and I think that's a way that the organization renews itself, brings in outside ideas, and creates opportunities for change and incorporating new strategies. External and internal problem-solving strategies that involve key stakeholders, bringing in people from outside, like in your lab meeting the other day. It wasn't just people internal to WALK that were there in this meeting that Albert organized or that you have as a team. There were people from the schools. There were others, and how often does that happen? And you know, do you use people from outside and stakeholders, employers, whomever? That one's sort of I won't talk about that one. Develop strategies that bring in innovation. And I think one of the real amazing things about WALK is, you know, and I think it is true not only of WALK, but the emphasis on innovation and research and innovation and creating experience base with new technologies and new strategies. How well do you do that? That's another one that's kind of related to that. Increased paths of access to learning. Would you, I'm curious, students pay a higher tuition or higher fees to WALK than to other universities. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Not in Catalan.
Not in Catalan. Okay.
Catalan is the same as the other universities.
Okay.
In
It's only in
it's
Spanish.
higher.
It is, okay. Do you provide individual financial aid through WALK, or is that all through the government? Financial aid?
Individual financial aid to students.
No.
It's through the government?
It's a public prize for
Yeah,
everyone.
okay.
Yeah.
So in the in the case of the Catalan degrees, the price is made by the government on a decree. Okay, so all the universities should follow the decree. In Spanish, as far as we don't have any kind of funding from the Spanish
Right.
government, then the price is different and it's a cost price.
Right, and Enrique explained that to me, showed me. Of all of the students, how many sections were in Catalan, how many sections were in Spanish, and how many students were in each. So, okay, how about team building, problem solving? Is that part of the goals of the curriculum? A, B, C, or D? Again, these are all just ways of thinking about what it is you're doing, giving yourself, you know, how important is it and how well are you doing it. I know you do this, research for effective administrative and academic support functions, and you know, looking at how responsive you are, the emphasis on quality assessment, you've done a lot, and I think the project that is ongoing will be important to build on that. I met with Pep Torn, the library, and he was describing the kind of challenges that the library is facing in making sure that everything is available 24/7 online, PDF form, and other forms. And so I know that's just been a fundamental part of what the university attempts to do. I think, have really worked hard on that. So these are just things. It's interesting. Does appreciative inquiry ring a bell with anyone? Is it something that you've heard of? Appreciative inquiry. Well, it's a very interesting. It's a very interesting theory of change. Maybe Enrique would recognize Kuppenreiter as the founder of it, or the originator of the idea. And it basically says, it's a very simple idea. You focus on, you grow in the direction of what you talk about. So if you think about what you do really well, and you share what you do really well, and you bring that out for everybody to know and to understand, then that creates opportunities for growth that aren't there otherwise. And very often in organizations, we really do hide a lot of what is very, very good about an organization. We don't recognize it, we don't talk about it, we don't focus on it, and as a result, there is a lot of knowledge that's just lost. But appreciative inquiry is a systematic, very structured way of telling stories, bringing out what we do well, having that conversation, and then creating ideas for building on that. So there's a process of discovering what we do well and what we value, then dreaming about what could be possible for the future. Do we want to be a university of 100,000 students? Maybe, maybe not. But having the opportunity to dream about that, and I think Chris was describing a meeting this morning that you had about, research projects for the next year, which sort of reminded me about this. You discover what our ideas are, you build on that. It's a much more structured process than that, but it creates an opportunity for an organization to go forward based on its strengths and on its successes. So, if anybody's interested in this, I can give you some more references a little bit later. I'm going to close here just to say, here's where I see the trends going. I think there's a lot of emphasis, there's going to be a lot of emphasis on documenting the quality of what we do. We're going to have to do it. And it's going to be important to be able to demonstrate not only to external funders, but also to our students. We're going to have more and more sophisticated students and more knowledge about alternatives and about competitors. And the competitors are not going to be across the street, they're going to be global. We're going to be moving into that environment. And so how well you tell others, how well you put into place processes for communicating the value of programs is going to be important. I think we're going to have a lot of emphasis, again, on excellence, and there's a lot of factors that go into determining what excellent is, not just the performance of students, but a lot of other processes involved. And I think you could make a study based on how well each of these is addressed, and have a very productive set of outcomes from that. The problems that I see, I do quite a bit of consulting with other organizations and accreditation as well. And the problems that I see with institutions that are struggling and having difficulty is, they've forgotten what their mission is. They don't plan. They don't communicate internally with each other. They don't have a financial model that works. They don't know where their money's going. They don't know how it's coming in, and they don't have a rational distribution of the funds. It's just not well done. They have a poor learning model, and I don't think any of these are characteristic of what I have experienced here, but I have seen universities where one or more of these was a serious problem, and the university was not a happy place to be. Teachers and students on their own, kind of left out in the field to do whatever they want to do, and so the result of that is a very high, very often a very high attrition rate, students who drop out, quit, teachers who teach and then don't ever teach again, and without any follow-up for teacher improvement. So these are some of the things that I think are important, and also some of the things that are coming down the road. And just a final thing, the continuous improvement idea at the bottom here, building, taking the time to see what you're doing well, see what you can improve in, and then building that into decision making through a continuous improvement process. And that is a culture. That is you can't create that by administrative decision making. It's part of the life of the organization. It's based on values and beliefs and attitudes and what each person contributes, and being allowed to contribute in a safe space. And it's a very difficult thing to do. It's very fragile. It can be lost easily. It takes a long time, a lot of effort to create it. It takes friendship, respect, trust, all of those things. But when you see it, it's a beautiful thing. And you probably all had experiences either in a family or in an organization where all of those were working together, and when they do, it's a wonderful place to be. So I'll close there, and let's open it back up for questions. Diversity takes a lot of different contributions to make something really beautiful, doesn't it? It really, there's no one thing that is the solution or the answer. It's a mix. So I'll stop, and I'll come back to what we. I think somebody actually said this. I can't remember who it was now, but knowing is literally something we do. It's a very powerful statement, I think, that we learn by doing, and we understand when we do. And so giving all of us that opportunity, and giving our students that opportunity, it's why we build the plane, right? So I see, the possibility that we're going to have universities organized structurally around knowledge creation, and that's going to be their goal and their mission. And teaching students is going to be secondary. I mean, they will teach students as long as it contributes to the role that they have for knowledge creation. And then I see another set of roles around certification, with more and more different paths to that certification. So, if you think about, I think what Walk has done with research is very interesting, because there are specialties, there are niche areas that WALK has more resources than major universities. And to concentrate on those is a good strategy. But WALK probably is not going to be a research university. It's not going to be competitive with these 40 universities. So, you know, that means that there are other paths that can be exploited, and you can concentrate the idea of research into a particular, which is what you've done.
You just mentioned my fears. So these are what I'm concerned about. The fact that no one will ask us which kind of university we would like to be, neither where we would like to belong. So this is the real question. So we can analyze the situation from different points of view, different perspectives. One perspective is the sense of the sociologist that considers where the universities are going. That's right, so we can debate about, we can discuss about and so on. And the other perspective is which will be our future as university teachers and researchers, for instance. Right. Okay, so the answers are different in both cases, and are not as positive as we can imagine. So the thing is that I think that things are moving without any possibility of being stopped. Okay, so we are in this stream, and we won't be able to stop where things are going to reach or to arrive. Thing is, which will be our position at the end of this process, and how we can position ourselves in a better way. And when I say ourselves, I mean individually, but also as a collective, as an institution, in order to arrive in a better position at the end of this race, of this process. Okay. So this, I'm not very clear about anything. So the thing is that I have a lot of questions, no answers for these questions. But I imagine that we have identified most of the important questions to be answered in the very next times, very next years. So I agree, I fully agree with you that, for instance, we have, so I appreciate very much your perception about our university. I think that he has much more positive perception as we usually have. That's true.
That's why he should stay for another 4 months.
Yeah.
Maybe we get a complete picture.
Yeah. Maybe you can grow our self-confidence on that. So the thing is that I think that all of us, we really appreciate your perception of that, because always when someone coming from abroad is telling you which are your strong points, what are your strengths, and how to manage with them, I think that we should appreciate this perception. But on the other hand, that's true that we have, for instance, some important niche areas for research. As for instance, the one of the eLearn Center is one of that. We can be
Absolutely.
quite different and a top university researching on e-learning, for instance.
Right.
The problem is that we won't be a research university just researching on e-learning.
No.
And this is a contradiction, that's true. But this is what we have on the table. We don't have a different question. And on the other hand, when we are talking, and let me, I apologize for that, but let me introduce other issues that didn't appear at this moment, but we have them in mind. When we are talking about open educational resources, we are talking about these particular trends, in fact, what we are talking about is about certification. We're going that way, not another different way, that way. And certification means this kind of university, not a research one. So we need to be aware what we are saying and what we are thinking about, not a different thing. So this is the question. Putting on the table these different perceptions or perspectives, maybe we can agree which should be our way for the future. Maybe, I repeat, I'm not very sure about anything. But the fact is that some important and decisive times are coming for a university. So this is, I think that's true. And this chart is very, very, not only very interesting, but
Is it Creative Commons? Because your name is underneath, so.
Yeah. I have to do that. I need some help with that.
we can mention it under citation.
Only the orange
okay?
Yeah.
Physics good.
Well, I do think that it is always useful to, I think Appreciative Inquiry has a lot of potential for helping to chart a future that is based on an organization's not only strengths, but knowledge of itself, self-knowledge, and the opportunity to dream. And, you know, I don't know of any organization that is better placed than this one to actually do that with respect to, okay, the university's not going to be what it is now, 5 to 10 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
What are we going to be? How can we build on what we have? How can we dream for the future? And, you know, there's always the possibility you give up something, but there's always the possibility that you add something. That you add other options based on your strengths, based on what you do well. And I think universities that start from the attitude of a deficiency or a deficit, here's what we don't do well, here's what we can't do, here's what we don't have the money to do, here's what we're not going to get funding to do, therefore we won't do it, that creates this kind of downward momentum because you're not looking at what you do well. And sometimes just the stories, I'm guessing that if I interviewed people from an Appreciative Inquiry point of view, everybody in this room, I would discover amazing things that none of you know about the organization because, you know, you already know I mean, you're here, you're part of the culture, it's not something you focus on. But I bet if you told stories with each other, you would discover amazing things about yourselves and about the organization. And I think looking ahead and looking up rather than behind and down is, it's hard to do, but worth doing.
I have a question. Throughout this presentation, and what we've been talking, I have the impression that we see the university like trying to survive in a society that is changing, or trying to react, adapt, or whatever you want. But what is the role of a driver of a society to go somewhere? Do you see the university having any significant role in this society as it's changing? Because a personality has something to say to society. We are going somewhere. Because I see that we're always seeing like big teams that are trying to survive. Actually, in which way will we survive in this? And I don't actually agree completely with that idea. I think we have a role in society, a special role. What is disturbing me sometimes is that market seems to be the only way to measure things. And the university has a role, and all education has a role to educate citizens in democratic values. This is a position that we don't have to forget, and we don't have to reduce us with practical knowledge applies to something. We have to get involved in that because knowledge is produced also from practice and from a contextual participation. But we also have another role, I think.
Yeah, and I agree, and that other role is under attack.
Yeah.
It is under attack, and you know, politically, it's under attack. It's under attack in Wisconsin. I can tell you that for sure. And I don't know. That requires advocacy and leadership and educating leaders. Remember that statement? How well do we do that? And not as well as we need to, because there is this role of creating citizens and creating opportunities for ethical education and for a civilized society, a culturally based society that the university is an important contributor to. And that's not about certification per se. So the fact that we're headed in these two different directions doesn't mean that we should go there willy-nilly. We need to decide what can we contribute and prioritize the ways in which that happens. But we can't do it by just kind of leaving it to happen. It's going to have to be some very concentrated discussion and planning that takes place. We've probably gone over time a little bit, but I'm happy. Let's continue.
I would like to say also that we should keep awake about the fact that we use two different words in the same meaning sometimes, and they are not the same. That is, when we talk about market and we talk about society, sometimes it seems to be the same. Society, market, market and society. Market is not the society. So the mission of the university is to respond to the demands to the society, not to the market. And the market is one of the drivers of the society. So this is something that we should keep in mind, because sometimes I think that we confuse it a little bit both. No, I mean, not us, but in general.
Right.
The market says, well, that's right, the market says something, but the society needs maybe other things, not only what the markets are asking for.
Yeah.
Ok, alguna altra intervenció? So, Don, thank you very much. I think that it has been just a seminar, not just a speech, but a seminar. And I think that it's even richer than we could expect as an activity of this kind. So thank you very much. Very, very inspiring and you mean discussing. So I think this is very important, and we need other sessions like this. So thank you very much, not only for the session, thank you very much for your stay here, for everything you have collaborated with her and you have shared with us. So we hope this is just the first time you are coming here. Okay.
Well, thank you again. Thanks everyone for great questions and excellent thoughts and for your participation. I meant everything I said during the entire stay here in terms of how important and how gracious all of you have been and welcoming me and putting up with my terrible Spanish and my even worse Catalan. But trust me, I'm working on it. And I will keep trying. And I appreciate that help that all of you have provided, and just the general hospitality. I've told Albert this and several of you, but I find Barcelona just absolutely enchanting. It's just a great place. You're all very lucky. Monica and I have talked about this as well, to be where you are, and I think you have lots to accomplish, and you've already done more in 15 years than if I think about universities that I've come into contact with. You've developed in an incredible way, and in a very structured and organized but responsive way. So you've got a lot ahead of you as well. Lots of challenges, but lots of opportunities. So I look forward to staying you know, not leaving tomorrow, so be here for a couple more weeks and have more opportunities to interact with you, and I look forward to that. But anyway, thank you.
Okay.